Hello, hello. Welcome to day 7. We are on our final day of the 7-day journey. I hope that this has been a blessing. I hope that this has brought clarity, has helped you to let go of the things you've been holding on to, and the things of finances, your health, the doubts, the fears, the guilt. I know that that's no fun place to be in or to feel, especially if one believes that it's like, no, God is mad at me, or like, no, each day He calls us, He pulls us closer, He wants to speak to us. And I hope that this has been, like I said, a blessing. It has brought peace and joy. There's power in testimony. So I'm here, like I said, to serve you, to serve the Lord, and for all of us to essentially get to know Him more. Before God revealed to me that I made an image of Him, I was fearful because I thought He was this super strict God, and it turns out that He's so patient, loving, merciful, where He really cares about every single detail of our lives, even how we think about ourselves or how we think about life, that even those details where one may not even think about, but for Him it's a big deal, because the way that we think about ourselves affects us in our capabilities and what we can achieve, what we can't achieve, the limits that we put ourselves unconsciously, really, and in not fully knowing Him and how that affects us in approaching Him and coming to Him as we are, where I don't think as humans, there's no such, for us, may not be a perfect prayer. It's just really us opening our hearts, being sincere, being honest, being vulnerable, or in those moments where it's hard for us to be vulnerable, to ask Him, like, Lord, my heart is hard because I placed my heart to be that way because of the things that were done against me, the things that hurt me. And it's normal, it's okay to feel like our hearts are hardened, or because we harden our hearts to protect ourselves, and then it's hard to go to God and be vulnerable or be honest because of that hurt and pain that people that are maybe perhaps in your case are currently doing or have been doing, or just the history of all of those people in the past. That there is hope, there is security, there is comfort in the Lord. So I just really pray that all of this has helped you. And if this has been helpful to you, please share these couple of days with somebody that you know that is hurting, somebody that wants to get to know God more, somebody that just wants to just stop living in shame, in guilt, and darkness, and sadness. Because in today's world, sadly, with everything going on, it can bring us down, and it's not a fun place to be. But let's continue with day 7. And today's chapter is when obedience feels exhausting. When obedience drains us, grace sustains us. And we'll start with the testimony. A few days before the rent was due, I managed to receive enough money to pay it on time. If it wasn't for the strength and motivation God gave me, I know I wouldn't have been able to push through on my own. But I will admit, there were moments when I sat on my bed, not wanting to leave the comfort of my room. My room had become my safe place for nearly a year, a bubble where I felt protected from the outside world. I had grown so accustomed that sense of security that stepping out felt almost impossible. The stares from strangers only made it harder. If it had been up to me, if I was the only one affected, I probably would have given up. I would have hidden away, avoiding the embarrassment I felt over the acne on my face. Nonetheless, even though the thought of staying home tempted me, I knew I had no choice but to work. It was the only way my debt could be paid off and my finances could finally grow beyond single digits. So instead of letting my anxiety and comfort win, I would take deep breaths, ask God for strength, get up, walk towards the door, and begin to work. As each week passed, the constant movements of driving, running, walking up and down the stairs, picking up and dropping off orders while feeling pressured to deliver them on time, and dealing with traffic became physically exhausting. Working 6 days a week caused my frustration to grow more than ever. I had gone from spending most of my time in bed to constantly being on the move. I was already mentally and emotionally drained, and now I felt physically worn out too. After working long and demanding hours, being on my feet all day, running, climbing flights of stairs, and making sure I arrived at the right location, the money in my bank account was still in the single digits. Every Tuesday, the moment I received my earnings, they went straight to bills. I knew I had prayed for help to pay off my debt, but with so little left over, there was no wiggle room to reward myself in any way. The only positive side was that the credit card companies had stopped calling. Even though I tried to stay calm, I was deeply disappointed. I believed working would make me feel better, but at the end of the day, I felt worse. Now for the biblical reflection. Nearly a year had passed since the Israelites had left Egypt. By now, they had learned about God's commandments, laws, and how to live in a way that was holy and set apart. They were taught how to live in peace with one another, how to resolve disagreements fairly, and how to worship God in truth. Once the Israelites learned the principles, God gave Moses specific instructions on how to build the tabernacle, a holy place where His presence would dwell. It wasn't a place anyone could casually enter. Only chosen priests could go deeper into His presence, and they had to be consecrated. Of course, it wasn't all smooth sailing while the Israelites were learning God's truth and ways. Just like many of us, they often had to learn lessons the hard way. I know I've had my fair share of hard lessons in my own journey too. There were moments when the Israelites disobeyed or rebelled against God, almost to throwing spiritual tantrums because of their constant complaints. And when their hearts refused to listen, God had to make it clear that their behavior and attitude could no longer be tolerated. One unforgettable moment was when His voice thundered from Mount Sinai with such powerful and authority that the Israelites were gripped with fear. Within seconds, they pleaded with Moses to ask God to stop speaking directly to them. They were afraid, yet even then, God never abandoned them. Throughout their journey, He faithfully provided food, water, shelter, safety, and guidance. During the day, He was a pillar of cloud, and at night, a pillar of fire. They lacked nothing. But despite God's constant faithfulness, they continued to allow fear and worry to rule their words. After 400 years of slavery under Pharaoh, crying out in distress had become their norm. Those same habits followed them into the wilderness. Even though they were free, they didn't yet know how to live like it. Their mouths still spoke as if they were in bondage, and the words they chose began to shape their reality. Instead of speaking life and trust, they spoke doubt and fear. And those words kept them cycling the same wilderness. Now for the spiritual takeaway. You can be free on the outside, but still be bound on the inside. I know how it feels to walk into a new season, yet still carry the weight of old fears. When fear speaks louder than faith, even the smallest struggles can feel impossible. But freedom often begins with the words you choose to speak. What you are declaring over your day, over your life, over your situation. If God has already shown up for you before, and I know He has, don't let the weight of today's pressure erase the memory of His faithfulness. Your words carry power. They can either build faith or feed fear. Plant life or spread poison. Choose fruit over poison. Choose life over fear. Choose gratitude over grumbling. God is not just bringing you out of something. He's lovingly shaping you and preparing you for something greater than you can imagine. And even when it feels slow, you can trust that His hands are steady and His heart is for you. And now for the verses. Colossians chapter 4, verse 5 and 6. Psalms chapter 68, verse 19. Lamentations chapter 3, verse 22 and 23. And now for the reflection questions. Number 1. What is one thing you can thank God for today, even if it feels small? Number 2. Do you tend to focus more on what's lacking in your life or on what you've already been given? And number 3. How do you define enough right now? And how does that definition shape your peace or contentment? And for the closing prayer, the final closing prayer for the journey. Dear Lord, I thank you for this day and for every blessing you've placed in my life, both the ones I can see and the ones I can't yet see. Help me to slow down and truly notice your goodness in each moment. I know there are times when I feel weary, discouraged, and tempted to believe I don't have enough. But Lord, remind me that in you, I already have more than enough for this season. When the heavy words of fear, failure, or lack try to take root in my mind, replace them with your truth. Give me the courage to push forward even when my feelings try to hold me back. Teach me to speak life over myself and over my situation, and to let go of every word of poison I've ever believed about who I am or what's possible. I want my heart and my mouth to agree with you, Lord, because your plans for me are good. Thank you for loving me through my doubts, for patiently shaping me, and for never letting go of me. I trust that every step I take with you is leading me closer to the promise you've prepared for me. In Jesus' mighty name I pray, amen. That concludes the 7-day journey. Oh my goodness, I feel like these days just pass by quickly. And this all comes from the 30-day devotional. There's 3 gifts here, so it could be up to 35 days depending on how you take about it. But this is just the beginning of the light. Of course, throughout each day there's God's light, no doubt, but in how his light shapes us in each day. When we surrender, we pray to him, we come as we are. And this is this is the beginning of how God truly, blesses me to see what he's doing, and in the less the complaining and more the revealing, not just emotionally, mentally, but spiritually. So I hope, like I said, this has been a blessing. It has been an honor to be here, to show up regardless of what I be going through or feeling. Sometimes I feel tired, but I'm here, and every time I'm here to show up, I am happy, I'm excited, I am happy for the growth, not just within me, but in the growth of what God is doing in this community, in this ministry, in him utilizing me as one of his vessels to speak, to share, and the hope that he brings, not just in me, but in what he can do, he is doing in you. So I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day, and hopefully there's going to be an announcement soon. For those that are watching it before the announcement, so stay tuned. Of course, if you want to be a part of this community where it's a safe place, it's a place where we can be vulnerable, where I don't know, there's so many things coming up, testimonies to share, and the reason why I'm here. It was like, who's this girl? Or speaking all these things. But rest assured, with what God is doing, it's a history in the making. It's really humbling to hear that, with the wisdom and everything that God has placed in my heart to share, that how it's impacting those that have shared, like how it has been helpful. And it's really, really, really humbling to hear that God's work is just flowing through me and in everybody that he has sent your way to for you to know him. So I hope you all, like I said, have a beautiful rest of your day. God bless you. Bye.